like you were going to do that with me.
Yeah, and then I realized that I had like a scratchy in my throat. And so I was like, if I start now, I'm going to sound like I'm going through a paper shredder.
You did the podcast equivalent of pretending like we were both going to jump off the cliff together, and then you amped yourself up and then let me jump off without you.
Yeah.
Well, what a good way to start fucking episode 55. I don't feel betrayed at all.
Sorry, man. Welcome to Sort of the Story. This is the podcast where we tell each other stories, and also you are here.
Oh my god!
I'm Max,
welcome.
and she's Janey.
Yeah.
And that's all that you need to know.
And that's
Mind
the
your
news.
fucking
Oh my god.
business.
Stop asking us what that booty do, okay? It's none of your business. I'm a strong, independent woman. My booty does whatever it wants. Sometimes to my detriment. Booty, stop voting Republican.
I like the idea of your ass committing voter fraud. This podcast isn't for kids.
That ass so big, it commit voter fraud.
It votes in 2 different districts.
My ass does not recognize your gerrymandering, all right? It's gonna vote where it wants to.
So,
My ass is actually running for governor of Ohio. Here's the crazy thing. I've never been to Ohio. Anyway, I am Janey, and that is Max. You are you, and welcome. Did you know we did an episode where we were like, hello to Sarah and only Sarah, and we got an email from Sarah that was like, hi!
I hope that was all that was in it.
That was the spiritual vibe. I really liked it.
Hello.
Hello.
We're recording this a day late, and I feel like my brain is not coping with that well.
Yeah, no, it feels weird to record on a Sunday.
Yeah, I have very few routines that I stick to, but we've been pretty good about this recording on Saturdays for the past couple of weeks, and
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going crazy.
You know what? It feels a little bit like a late night episode, doesn't it?
Yeah, we didn't record yesterday because I accidentally stayed up until 6 a.m. drinking Trulies and watching Lucifer. So I was so hungover that it felt like someone was trying to unzip my skull. So I couldn't read and also couldn't talk.
Yeah. And it happens, all right? Get over it.
So we're recording this a day late, and I feel a lot better today,
Yeah.
I will say.
Today does feel better to record.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to record yesterday either, though. I also had a headache. I wasn't hungover. I was just bad at things. So,
Yeah.
fine. P.S. Guys, I made us a website. It's sortofthestory.com. Go look at it. And that's it. That's the whole news. But how fun.
Have fun.
Yeah. I started organizing the podcast by region. And what's fun about that is that I was like, maybe if anybody's like, I only want to hear stories from Africa, right? We have like Africa and South Africa, and there's like a couple countries in there. I'm like, maybe they can just go to that page. And then I realized we do have a couple of stories from Africa. We have a couple of stories from South America and Central America. But we really have like a shit ton of things from Europe.
Yeah.
That being said, Europe's really big. So you have to count like so many countries in there, but it's still a lot of countries from Europe.
Yeah, I think that that's also part of that is like the written tradition of folklore and like the idea of like the Brothers Grimm and everything like that, recording folklore and that being the case. Whereas in a lot of places in the world, folklore isn't written down because it's meant to be, verbal.
Told.
Yeah,
That
since we're only using books, I think that there is like a necessary bias towards European and North American texts.
I also had to examine why because most of them are me, but I also had to examine like, why am I so readily, like I do have a lot of European folklore books, of course, but also I grew up on those stories. I have such a love for these stories and these tropes, and they're also so bad. They're so bad. The Brothers Grimm, so bad, and I love them. They're ridiculous, and I think when it comes to like shock factor, that's what I look for in the majority of the stories that I tell, which is weird, but I'm always like, what's the one that's going to make Max shit her pants on the podcast?
We're 55 episodes in, and I've yet to shit my pants
I know,
on
and
mic, so
get ready for a million more Brothers Grimm stories. We did almost piss ourselves on several episodes.
I will say, taking note of the European bias that we have demonstrated in this podcast, I see that you brought your book of French folktales, and I brought my book of Celtic tales.
We learned nothing!
Specifically stories from Brittany, which is part of France. So
we learned nothing.
we need to fix our European bias. And also, here's 2 stories from very small regions of France.
Woo! And I'm going first. No,
I'm going first.
Well, you know
How
what?
dare
Fine.
you?
If you want to be selfish, I suppose
Hop
you
off
can.
my dick, dude.
Never. Do you want to just get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Woo! Okay, Max, tell me a tale.
All right, Janabeth. The story that I have for you today is called The Witch of Loch Island.
Okay.
This story is from Brittany, which, as I said, is a region of France.
Is it in, I don't know anything about Brittany. Is it in Ireland?
It's in France.
Yeah, but why does it say like Ireland? Why is that always included in
That's a great
Irish
question.
tales?
So this is Celtic tales.
Okay.
So just a quick
Please.
little intro. So Ireland is a country, and there's Irish Gaelic.
Go back.
Ireland is a country.
Wait a minute.
I mean, it's kind of 2 countries. Anyways, there's a whole bunch of wars about it. And they speak Irish Gaelic. Scotland also speaks a variety of Gaelic called Scots Gaelic.
Mm-hmm.
Gaelic is the term for the language of this area. Celtic is the background in terms of the Celts were a group of people who settled this area of Western Europe. That's where we get terms like Celtic, and Celtic describes the culture and the the ethnic background of being like Celtic.
I really thought that Celtic was a language.
Yeah.
This is fascinating.
It's confusing.
I like knowing this. Thank you.
Yeah, I took a whole class on Irish history, and it was really fascinating. And also, I don't remember most of it because it was an online class, and I forgot about it for the entire semester. And then the day of the final came up, and I was like, oh, right, I have a final today in this class that I have done literally less than a week's worth of work for. So I had to email the professor and be like, hey, what's up? I fucked up. And she was like, hey, if you can get this done by the end of winter break, then I'll take, the highest grade you can get is a B. I'll take like just 10 points off your total score for the whole course.
What a nice
but otherwise,
professor.
Yeah, she was amazing.
That's how professors should be. And I didn't think that the first year that I was teaching in China, but now that I went through a master's program, I'm like, no, that's how everybody should be.
Yeah. So it was like an online course, and those are really hard for me as a human being with ADHD. And I still have nightmares about forgetting that I'm taking a class. But I ended up doing the entirety of it. So I finished all of my finals, and then I did the entirety of this Irish history course in 2 weeks. I read like 2,000 pages of textbooks.
Yeah.
And just like didn't sleep for 2 weeks and did this whole course. So I remember some very specific things, but a lot of things I don't. Anyways, that's just a weird little story. So Celtic is descendant of the Celts, which are peoples that settled Western Europe in some area. As they actually also... Celtic influence stretches it like as far as like Eastern Europe and Western Asia, like the kind of like Slavic bloc. Yeah, there's Celtic influences there. There are Celtic influences as far south as like North Africa and everything like that.
Wow.
Yeah, they were hugely influential. But when we talk about like Celtic peoples, a lot of times the inclination is to think like Ireland.
Yeah.
Or like if you're stretching like Ireland and Scotland. But the Celtic background spans a huge portion of Western Europe. So that's just the difference in terminology there. This book is Celtic Tales. And it specifically says in the subheading of the book, fairy tales and stories of enchantment from Ireland, Scotland, Brittany, and Wales. Okay. And Brittany is the area of France that was most influenced by the Celts. If you've heard like Breton is a language that is formed from Gaelic as a combination of sort of like Gaelic and French. Also, if you think of like how France used to be Gaul, the country of Gaul, that comes from Gaelic. Gallic Celtic influences. So, anyways.
Fun. The more you know. And by you, I mean me. I am endlessly fascinated by that. Thank you so much.
Also, some of that might be wrong, because this is just from memory and I didn't Google it. But
this podcast is called Sort of the Story.
That's I think sort of a little bit of history.
If you guys are sitting there so angry because you're like a Celtic historian, listen to another podcast.
Or come and be on this podcast.
Yeah, or like very seriously, please email us with sources that we can read, and then Max will do an off-topic about it.
So this is Celtic Tales, Fairy Tales, and Stories of Enchantment from Ireland, Scotland, Brittany, and Wales. It's a collection illustrated by Kate Forrester. A lot of these stories are available for free online. I have the link to this story. It's from sacredtext.com, which is also a resource that we use like all the time. It's like Project Gutenberg.
Yeah.
But this...
Steve Gutenberg's personal actors website.
I hate this bit. This is my least favorite bit in history. The story that I'm going to be telling is called The Witch of Loch Island, which is from Folktales of Brittany by Elsie Masson. It was also published in the Lilac Fairy book by Andrew Lang, and a book of mermaids by Ruth Manning Sanders.
Ooh, mermaids, you say?
Yeah, there's going to be a mermaid in this one, so get excited.
I am.
This is also, I found out when I was reading about this story that in like the end of the 19th century, early 20th century, so like 1890 to like 1920, this story was taught in English schools for students who were learning French in England.
Oh, nice.
So this is like a really well-known story as a result of that.
Cool.
So anyways, the Witch of Loch Island. There once was a man, and there was a woman.
Okay.
The man's name was Jan, and the woman's name was Bella.
Bella. Wait a minute.
I told you.
We won't be tricked again.
So, April Fool's, just kidding, it's October. So I told you beforehand, I was like, I realized something as I was writing down the notes for this episode.
Yeah.
There are several opportunities for Twilight references.
Yes!
So anyways, there's a man and a woman, Jan and Bella. They had known each other since they were children. Their parents both worked as servants in the same house.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had known each other forever. They had been best friends, and then they had fallen in love as they had gotten older. When their parents passed away, they took over their position in the house as servants themselves, which meant that they get to spend all their time together, which is really nice. And the author notes and is like, and they should have been happy with that, but they weren't.
Uh-oh. Jan, what'd you do?
I like your intuition that it's Jan's fault.
It's Jan's fault.
It is. So, the author is like, well, they should have been happy that they were together, but they weren't. Those selfish, greedy sons of bitches didn't want to be servants anymore.
Oh, those fucking... Come on, be happy with your station.
And every day they would complain about how they wish that they had just enough money that they could buy a little cow and a little pig, and then they could lease some land from their master and have their own little farm and, make their own living.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have to necessarily work for someone else anymore.
Also, it's not like they got those jobs. They inherited those jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, go ahead.
So they decide, that that's what they would like, but they just don't make enough money. And so they can't afford this cow and this pig. And every single day they're like, oh, sure wish we had a cow and a pig. And they're just complaining. The story says, it sounds just like they're fairly upset about the situation that they have in their life. I would
also like to point out that it's not very forward-thinking of them to be like, I want one cow and one pig. Have 2 cows or 2 pigs so that you can have more. Like, a cow and a pig can't do much after they both die after 5 years. How long do they live? 5 years, I'm going to say, because of the plague.
Sure. Or they get eaten. Yeah. And also, a factor is that Bella is like, yeah, I went to the fair and cows and pigs are more expensive than ever. Inflation. Am I right?
Oh my god, am I right?
This story spoke to me in my heart.
This is very relatable.
So they spend all this time and they're like, oh, I wish we just had a cow and a pig. And finally, Jan gets sick of it. He's like, I'm tired of not having a cow and a pig. Yeah. I'm going to go off and seek my fortune.
Oh.
Yeah.
Without Bella?
And Bella says, don't go seek your fortune. You'll die, and then I'll just still be stuck being a servant here without a cow or pig for the rest of my life. So don't do that. Maybe we can just work on saving better. Ask for a raise. And Jan is like, no. And fuck you.
All right, Jan. Well.
He's like, no. And Bella's like, all right, well, if you're going to go, then I want to give something to you to keep you safe.
It's a gun. Here's my bazooka.
She pulls out a blunderbuss from under her dress.
This is my Uncle Don. He's very skilled in a very particular set of skills. I don't know how to be threatening. Go ahead.
So she takes him to her room and she shows him a chest. And inside of the chest, she says that there are these 3 family heirlooms that have been passed down through her family for generations. Mm-hmm. She pulls out a silver pocket knife.
Okay.
And a little golden bell. And an applewood staff.
All of this sounds like stuff that you would also give me if I was going on a long trip. I don't know why.
Yep.
But all of you'd be like, hold on, real quick. I'm going to get at me. Oh yeah, here's your tiny pocket knife. Hold on. And apples, staff? I don't know. And also, what was the last one?
A bell.
Bell. Oh no, do I have memory problems?
It's 3 things.
Go ahead.
So she says, these have been passed down in my family for generations. They are priceless artifacts of my family. The silver pocket knife, if you touch anything with it, it will lift any kind of spell or curse that the thing is under. It can defy any kind of witchcraft.
Cool.
The golden bell, if you're in trouble, it can be heard over infinite distances.
Nice.
So if you are, 500 miles away and you're in trouble, the bell will ring and I'll be able to hear it.
Can only she hear the bell, or does everybody?
Unclear. Okay. Yeah. Unclear. The rules are not explained. And then she has the applewood staff, this big wooden walking stick, And she's like, this is an applewood staff. It will take its bearer to wherever they need to go quicker than any horse ever could.
Okay.
And it's magic. So she's like, I'm going to give you the pocket knife and the bell to keep you safe.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you get in trouble and the bell rings, I'm going to keep the staff so I can come help you.
She's smart.
Yeah. So she's like, so if I hear the bell, I'm going to take the staff and come save you.
Yeah.
And he's like, great. I also love that it is very, like, clever.
That is clever.
Know?
Also, I love that she's like, all right, you idiot. I'm gonna need to be the one to come rescue you.
I was thinking the whole time throughout this story, I was like, all these fairy tales that start with like someone going on a journey and then someone's like, well, here, take these heirlooms that I have, these magic artifacts, and like, what if you went on a quest and someone was like, here are these artifacts, and then none of them came in handy and you definitely needed like a different set of artifacts?
Yeah.
Princess Vasilisa and everything like that, like all of the stuff that she had, like what if instead she just got a fucking bell and like
here's a rape whistle. Hopefully you won't have to use it. She's this isn't even magic. This is just a nice thing to have,
I guess. Also, here's one of those like bad kitty keychains.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about like what if your family passed down for generations these magical artifacts, and then like your husband to be who you like wanted to get married to someday but you were too poor. What if you gave them to him and they just like weren't what he needed and then he died and also you lost all of your artifacts? I don't know. It's just a weird thing that I was thinking about. So she gives him all of these artifacts and he prepares to leave. And he begins on his travel. They kiss goodbye tearfully and she's like, when you come back, like, we're getting married. And he's like,
aww,
as long as we're not poor, then yes.
And that's fair.
Yeah. So he goes off on his journey and he travels until he reaches this seaside town, and he decides to stay the night at an inn there. And this seaside town, it looks out over the water and all of these little islands that are scattered offshore. Actually, as I was researching this, I found out that this is a real place. It is called the Glenaan Islands, which are off the coast of France.
Cool.
So this is like an actual place. Like it's a little port and there are all these little islands off the coast. So he's staying at this inn and he stays the night. He wakes up in the morning and he sits on the front porch and he's drinking his coffee and he sees these two salt merchants come by with their mules, and they're talking about this witch. They're like, man, I wish I had as much treasure and wealth as the witch of Lock Island, because then I wouldn't have to be out here with my salt and my mule.
And the mule's like, hey man, fuck you.
I really just thought we were hanging out. I thought we were friends. I guess I'll just go fuck myself.
The journey.
And he hears these two salt merchants talking, and he's like, I'm sorry, excuse me, the witch of what? And they're like, the witch of Lock Island. That island over there. She has like a massive treasure hoard, but every time someone goes to ask her for some of it, they don't come back. And he's like, interesting. I'm gonna go ask her for some of it. And they're like, are you fucking stupid? Are you stupid?
We just said this.
You will not come back. You are if we have to, like, we will physically restrain you. You should not go do that.
Whoa.
And Jan is like, okay, yeah, I totally hear you. Thank you so much for being concerned. I need to go out there to ask for money to buy a pig and a cow. Oh. So I'll tell you what, if you just give me enough money for a pig and a cow, then I won't go. And they're like, well, I mean, you're so stubborn. I guess we can't really stop you. So such a stubborn young man. Anyways, we have to leave. Goodbye. And he's like, yeah, that's what I fucking thought.
That's clever. I love that that's in the story.
Yeah. So he hails a ferryman, and the ferryman takes him out to Lock Island. And Jan is on this island. He wanders through his forest until he finds this huge lake in the middle of the island. And it's beautiful, like perfect, crystal clear water with all of these like pink flower petals from the trees around floating on the surface. And at one end of the lake, there is a boat. It is like sea green colored, and it looks like a swan with its head tucked under its wing.
Okay.
And he's like, that's so pretty. He's never seen anything this beautiful before. And so he goes over and he's looking at the boat, and he's like, what is this? Like, this is such an interesting design. And he like steps into the boat to look closer, and then the swan pulls its head out from under its wing and stretches out its webbed feet and starts paddling towards the middle of the lake. And he's like, oh, no. And so he's just stuck on this swan boat, paddling out into the middle of the lake. And then it gets to the middle of the lake and dives.
Oh, no.
And he's like, cool, time to drown.
Can he not swim?
Well, as soon as he gets underwater, he realizes that he can breathe perfectly
nice.
fine. And so they swim down to the bottom of the lake, down, 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 until they finally reach the bottom. And he sees this huge, beautiful castle. And it's made of like shells and crystal and pearls. And it has these beautiful trees of seaweed around it and everything like that.
This reminds me of your turtle wife story.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah.
I was also, yeah. And so the swan swims him down to the massive stairway that leads to the entrance of the castle, and he deposits him at the bottom of the stairs and like tips his little swan cap to him, and it swims back up. And Jan he's like looking around in awe, and he starts walking up these steps, and these steps are made of crystal. Each time he takes a step, it rings like a bell. And so he's walking up these crystal steps, and he's just in awe at this castle, and he finally reaches the top. He opens the door into the castle, and literally in the first room, like in the entryway of the house, he sees a giant golden bed, and on it, a witch. And don't worry, this is a sexy witch.
Okay, good. He's engaged.
She's got this like green silk dress that is like it's like as soft and as bright as like sea foam, and she's got long silky black hair that has bits of coral braided into it in like adornments and everything, and all these pearls and everything. She has like a silver sash around her waist, and she's laying on this massive golden bed, and he comes in and is like, hello.
Sup?
She says to him, welcome, come in. There's always a place here for strangers and handsome youths like you.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Cool your nethers.
I'm just here to deliver your pizza, ma'am.
You ordered a large sausage. I know how that sounds, but you did, in fact, order a large sausage.
Oh, they also, I forgot about this. They describe her cheeks as being shell pink, which is something I've never really thought about, but they're like the color of the inside of a shell, like that like pearly pink color. Aww. Which is super pretty. I just never thought about that description before.
Also smooth.
So she welcomes him in, and he's like, hello, I am Jan, and I would like enough money to buy a cow and a pig. And she's like, oh, absolutely, no problem, come on in. And she leads him into the house, and she's like describing the castle and everything. There are all these like long threads of like pearls hanging from the walls and everything, and it's just like all crystal and shells and everything, and it's beautiful. And so he's just looking around. Nobody's ever seen anything like this before, right? I want to be like, what an idiot, but also we would love this house. He's under a lake, like. So she brings him inside, and she's like, well, you must be hungry. Why don't you have a seat, and then we can talk about this treasure. And so she sits him down at the table, and she explains, she's like, the treasure, it comes to me. So this lake is actually connected to the sea through like an underground river. So when ships crash off of the islands, the treasure is pulled in by the current into my lake. So that's where I get all of my gold from. And he's like, that's super interesting. Yeah. Thank you so much for explaining like geothermal currents to me.
Geothermal currency.
And Jan, at this point, she's like, oh, by the way, let me get you a drink. Can I get you a drink? And he's like, yeah, sure. So she brings out 8 golden goblets and 8 different kinds of wine. And she's like, why don't we just do a little flight? You know, just like a little wine flight, and you can try all these different wines. So she takes these 8 wines and pours them into the 8 cups, and he like tries all of them, and he's like, these are all really great. I know she's
probably going to end up being evil, but so far I'm loving every single thing about this witch.
So she just pours him like these 8 different wines, and he like tries all of them, and each one is better than the last, and he's like, these are all amazing, I would love some more. And she's like, well, then have as much as you want. So he like finishes all of the glasses and everything, and at this point he's like
wasted.
He's not doing well.
He also hasn't asked her name, or anything else about like Jan.
He's overwhelmed. And so he's like starting to get a little like warm and fuzzy and everything like that. And as he's getting more and more drunk, she's somehow becoming even more beautiful.
Oh, well,
and
that's just
like,
how drinking works.
Yeah. And so she's talking to him about this treasure that comes in and everything like that, and she's pouring him all this wine, and he's like, I'm not surprised that all those the salt merchants were really jealous of you, because like you're so rich. Like if I had like half of your fortune, I would be set for life. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't even want any more. And she's like, well, half, it's yours. And he's like, what? And she's like, well, here's the thing. My husband is gone, and I am very lonely. So if you would be willing to stay down here with me, I think you're gorgeous, and I would love for you to be my husband."
You didn't tell us Jan was a straight up hottie.
And so Jan at this point is pretty plastered, and he's like, "For all the half the whole treasure, and I'm married and I live here?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay,
No,
yeah."
Jan! What about Bella?
He is so drunk that he's fully forgotten that she exists.
Yeah,
So he
just
agrees to
like
marry
a
her.
man.
And she's
I
like,
am hereby imagining Jan as Adam Levine. Just
yeah,
so you know, that's what he looks
100%.
like. What a douchebag.
So the witch is like, "Great, I'm so excited. We're gonna get married. Anyways, I'm gonna go start on dinner, like if you're hungry." And he's like, "Great, awesome." So he sits by and like drinks more wine as she's putting out this huge table full of like the finest food that he's ever seen. And she's got everything prepared, and then she lays out like a big silver platter full of garnishes.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, "I'm gonna be right back. Actually, do you want to come with me?" And he's like, "Yeah, okay." And so she walks out into the gardens around the castle, and she walks until she gets to a fish pond. Don't know the physics of a fish pond underwater, but it's a fish pond.
Sure.
Don't ask questions. Mind your business.
Yeah.
And there's this fish pond with all these beautiful multicolored fish, and she takes from around her waist, the silver sash is actually a steel net,
Okay.
like a fishing net.
Cool.
And
Functional.
yeah, she like shakes it out, and she walks up to the water, and she holds it out like a basket, and she says, come hither, Attorney General. Come hither, O Miller, O Taylor, O Beadle," which is like a church usher.
Sure.
And as she's saying this, all of these fish start like jumping into her net.
Is one of them the Attorney General? Oh no.
I have never been more startled reading a story than when come hither, Attorney General. I didn't know that was a thing before,
Is that
like,
a
now.
thing?
Apparently.
That you call fish Attorney Generals?
I don't know. Maybe she just named them all.
Did they get elected?
Attorney General? I used to, my college roommate Kelly and I adopted a beta fish together,
Yeah.
and we named him Master Detective.
Yeah.
Which was a really good bit for me. And sometimes when I would get really bored, I would use like a dry erase marker on the outside of his tank and like draw a bunch of like clues and like body outlines. And I would be like, "What do you think, Master Detective?" And then he would like swim around, and I'd be like, that is very it. I was very lonely for a little while in college.
That's fair.
But maybe she just named all of her fish Attorney General and Miller, Taylor, and Beadle.
You shouldn't name the fish that you're gonna put in that silver net.
So they all jump into her net, and she bundles up all the fish, and she goes back inside, and she pulls out a golden frying pan, and she puts all 4 of these fish into the golden frying pan and starts cooking them up.
Alive?
I guess.
Attorney General, no. I've gotten attacked.
So she starts frying out these fish in this golden frying pan, and it smells so good. Also, this story made me really hungry.
Yeah, I'm hungry, and I just realized I haven't eaten yet. Go ahead.
Yeah. And, she butters the pan, puts the fish in, smells absolutely amazing. Mm-hmm. And Jan is just sitting there, and he's like a little tipsy. He's like half in, half out of one of the chairs at the dining table. And the sound of the oil spluttering for a second kind of sounds like whispering. Oh. He's like, "Who's that whispering?" And the witch says, "Nobody's whispering. That's just sparks from the firewood. Like, we're doing this over an open flame."
Oh, no, I married a dummy.
And then as the oil heats up more and more, it starts to sound more like a mutter, like someone speaking under their breath. And he's like, is there someone here? Who's muttering? And she's like, "No, that's just the fat melting. Like,
yeah, calm down.
This is just how cooking works. Have you eaten before? Ever?"
I'm sorry, but I just remembered that he walked in looking like Adam Levine, so like scrawny and covered in shitty tattoos, right? And he like walks into her house without an invitation and says, "I'm here for money for a cow and a pig." And then she's like, "Let's get married." And he thought that was normal. He thought, "I am a good boy."
Look, after 8 glasses of wine, a lot of things become normal.
I'm just saying, Jan, you piece of shit.
And so the oil keeps cooking down, and it gets louder, and it's like the oil starts snapping and popping, and it sounds almost like someone yelling. And Jan is like, "Who is here? Who is yelling?" He's like, "Who is yelling?" And she says, "It's probably just like a cricket on the hearthstone that's getting hot, He's clearly very disturbed by this, so she starts singing beautifully but loudly so that he can't hear anything else. But he's like kind of off-put. He's like, "This is weird.
Yeah.
it's been a little while since he had those 8 glasses of wine. They're starting to wear off a little bit. And he's like, this feels weird. Something doesn't feel entirely right here. And then the witch is like singing and she looks over and he's like looking around a little confused and she's like, I'm so sorry. You don't even have a drink. I'm gonna go get you a couple more wines to try. How do you feel about like 12 wines? Does that sound good? And he's like, yes. Great. So she's like, awesome. I'm gonna go just keep an eye on the pan. I'm gonna go grab 12 wines for you to try and I'll be right back.
Sure.
So she walks out. And Jan kind of like stretches out in his chair and he's really hungry at this point. This fish smells amazing. And so he's like getting himself ready and everything. He takes out, without thinking, he takes out this silver pocket knife and he sets it down on the plate in front of him on the table. And as soon as this silver pocket knife touches the plate, the enchantment in the room fades.
Oh.
And he looks over and he sees that the fish in the pan are not fish. They're little men.
The Attorney General.
They are a little man dressed as an attorney general,
Aww.
a little man dressed as a miller covered in flour, a little man dressed as a tailor with violet stockings on.
Oh. I didn't need to know that detail. Now I feel very sad.
And a little man dressed as a beetle in like his like church surplice.
Is that what the beetle and the bard is about?
No.
It must be about, the beetle must be a title.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
But they are like in the pan and they're like hopping around. They're like, ha, hoo, ha, ha. The oil is spluttering and they're like, help! Jan, help! You have to save us if you want to save yourself.
Yeah.
And Jan, quote, hilarious line, holy saints, who are all these little men singing in the melted butter?
No, that's not what... Jan, have you never heard screaming before?
And the men are like still hopping from foot to foot in the pan. And they're like, whew, okay, hot, okay, whew. We're all men. We came here to seek our fortune. And then the witch was like, want to get married. And we were all like, yeah. And then the day after the wedding, she got bored of us and turned us into fish. And all the fish in the pond are the men who married her. And she's going to do it to you. So you have to get out of here. And also get us out of here. And he's like, only heard the first part. Bye.
Wait, what?
And he drops everything and he starts running for the door. But in the meantime, the witch has returned with, like, I assume her arms just full of wine glasses. She's returned and she listens outside the door and she hears this conversation. And as he opens the door, she pulls out her steel net and throws it over him. And as soon as it touches him, he turns into a little green frog.
Aww.
She takes this little green frog and she tosses him into the pond with the rest of her husbands.
Meanwhile,
the very moment that the steel net touched Jan, the little golden bell around his neck was jostled. And many, many miles away, Bella hears this bell ringing.
Yeah, Bella.
And
Bella, you can do better. He was about to fucking cheat on you.
Yeah.
Bella, don't do it.
Bella hears this jingle and she says to herself, Jan is in danger. And immediately she takes up her staff, she drops everything that she's doing, and she sets off. And she walks until she gets to the crossroads, and then she drives her staff into the crossroads.
That Bella's cool as shit.
Yeah. And she says, O staff of applewood so fair, lead me on land and through the air, above the cliffs and o'er the sea, for with my lover I must be. And in a moment, this applewood staff transforms into a chestnut horse that is already all saddled and it has like blue tassels
so
and
he's
everything.
just caught between two witches.
Yeah.
This is cool as shit.
Yeah, I'm really excited to tell you the rest of this. So she jumps onto the horse and the horse is like, hold on tight, spider monkey, and then runs off as fast as the wind. And she's watching trees flash past her. She can't even see them. They're going so quickly. And she still like urges the horse to go faster. She's like, we have to go faster. Jan is in danger.
Yeah.
So the horse keeps going faster and faster and faster, impossibly fast. They keep running until they reach a cliff that has never been summited by anyone.
Yeah.
And the horse balks and is like, oh no, we can't go any further. And so she repeats her rhyme to him and is like, we gotta go save him. We gotta go save Jan.
Yeah.
And this horse sort of like whinnies and then sprouts wings.
Pegasus.
And then transforms into a bird. I wish it was a Pegasus.
Okay.
Transforms into a giant bird.
Big old bird.
And flies up to the top of this mountain. As they reach the top of this cliff, they see a little man in a nest.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, hello! Hello, please! Hey, what's up? And he's like, well, nobody's ever come up here before. Are you here to save me? And she's like, I mean, I guess I could save you. What do you need? And he's like, I need you. Here's the thing. I need you to go save Jan because I am the wife of the Witch of Lock Island. I'm the husband of the Witch
Oh,
of Lock
I was like,
Island.
what? I was so excited about this lesbian witch, but
Oh,
no,
no.
apparently not. Oh, Max.
I know, I'm so upset.
Let's just
I
change
fucked
it
up.
to Little Woman. She's the wife of Witch of Lock Island.
Yeah. The wife of the Witch of Lock Island, she's a little hobgoblin.
Yeah.
With like a red beard? Red hair.
And maybe a red beard. You know what?
Sure.
Fine, do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bella's like, yeah, absolutely. Like, he's like, basically, if you save Jan, I'm going to tell you how to get rid of the witch, and then the curse will be broken on me, and I will be able to escape, because she's keeping me up here with spells.
Yeah.
Which is a totally fine explanation, I guess.
But also, it makes sense. This is the wife of the Witch of Lock Island, which is why she's not down in the lake with the husbands.
Mm-hmm.
Separated.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So he says, here's what you're going to do, right? You're going to dress yourself up as a young man, and you're going to go down to the witch,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to present yourself as a young man. And then you're going to keep an eye out for an opportunity, and you're going to take the steel net that she has. It's the only thing strong enough to restrain her. You're going to take her net, you're going to throw it over her, and she won't be able to get out. She'll be trapped till the end of days.
Mm.
And then the curse will be broken, and, you know, everything will be fine.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, where am I going to get boys' clothes on such short notice? And he's like, no problem. She's like, no problem. She plucks out 4 red hairs from her head and then blows on them, and they become 4 tailors. And
Wow.
the tailors are all holding cabbages.
Aw. Okay.
And they, like, take apart the cabbage leaves, and then they sew them into this beautiful, like, set of, like, lordly clothes for Bella. And as they're sewing them, they turn into, like, green velvet and, like, white satin piping and everything. And,
Yeah.
like, it's very... And so she puts it on, and she looks like a dashing young man.
Is this
and
the
they're
only
like,
power
"Good
that
job."
this little person has?
Little,
Got little
hair
tailors?
cabbage tailors.
What a random power.
So she is now dressed up as a beautiful young man.
Mm-hmm.
She gets back on her giant bird, and she's like, great, I'm gonna go save you and also Jan. And he's like, great, have fun, good luck.
Mm-hmm.
She gets back on the bird, and she flies to Lock Island.
Mm-hmm.
She gets to the lake, gets on the swan boat, turns the bird back into a staff, and sort of uses it as a walking stick. She gets on the swan boat, same as Jan, dives down to the bottom, and the swan drops her off at the bottom of these crystal stairs.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, pretty castle, and, like, runs up. She's like, I have a task to do. Runs up the stairs, gets inside, sees the witch on her weird entryway golden bed.
Yeah, you know.
And the witch is immediately like, this is the handsomest man I've ever seen.
This man is beautiful,
like-
because I'm actually a lesbian, and that's why I'm so mad all the time, is because I have been lying to myself.
Yeah, the Witch of Lock Island sees Bella dressed as a young man, and she thinks that it's the handsomest young man that she's ever seen in all her years.
Mm-hmm.
And she says to herself, I think I shall love him for some time.
Oh.
She's like, this one might be a keeper.
Might make it past tomorrow morning.
Whoa. So she welcomes Bella in, and she's like, come in, young lord. Hello. I love your clothes. They're so good and definitely not cabbage. Brings her to the dinner table. She shows her around.
delicious.
She shows her in the castle. She's like, look at all of this. And Bella's like, ooh, ah.
Mm-hmm.
She brings her into the dinner table. And she's like, let me make you some food. You must be very hungry after your travels. And, you know, you gotta get your beauty eats. I don't know.
Yeah, you gotta get your beauty eats.
And as she's like, all right, I'm going to set out the table, and Bella sees the silver pocket knife still sitting on the table where Jan has dropped it. And so she kind of, like, sleight of hand slips it into her pocket. The witch continues to show her around. She's like, I'm going to go, like, get dinner, but why don't we look through my garden? She shows her this garden it's all like seaweed, and, like, instead of flowers are diamonds that just sprout out of the seafloor and everything.
Wow.
Very beautiful. And finally they get to the fish pond, which has all this beautiful rainbow of fish that are all swimming around. And the witch is like, and Bella's like, that's a really good pond. I really like these fish.
Wow.
Wow, amazing. And the witch is like, you know what? I really like how much you appreciate my fish. Why don't we, I don't know, this is going to sound crazy, but, like, why don't we get married? And Bella's like, ooh, that sounds so good.
That sounds like something I want to do.
But I actually have this, like, pre-marriage bucket list, and on it includes, you let me use your net and I catch this fish. And the witch is like, that's really cute. Like, this is a very cute, like,
Aww.
silly fun thing that my future husband wants to do. And she's like, yeah, sure. And so she hands Bella the net, And she's like, if you're patient, you might get yourself a really good catch. And Bella is like, I certainly will. I'm going to catch a witch, and throws the steel net over the witch.
Is it bad that I was rooting for them?
A little bit, yeah. I feel it. She throws the steel net over the witch, and in some versions of the story, she says, now I want your outsides to reflect the evil in your heart. And the witch transforms from this beautiful woman into, I want to get her title correctly, the Queen of the Toadstools.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's like this, like,
oh, hell yeah. That's us.
yeah, this nasty, like, toad woman with, like, long, like, tusks, kind of.
Yeah.
And so she transforms into this. Bella takes up the net with the witch inside and throws it into the middle of the lake. And the witch can't get out. And these ripples that come from the splash of the net falling drive all the fish out of the lake. And then Bella takes the silver pocket knife and touches each of the fish in turn. And they all turn back into men. Nice. And they're like, hooray, amazing. So glad that I'm not a fish anymore.
I learned my lesson. Gotta keep it in my pants. Nope.
And as she's bringing all these fish back to being men, she's looking around and she can't find Jan. And she's like, oh, I hope I wasn't too late. And then she looks down at her feet. And this description absolutely fucking wrecked me. She looks down at her feet and there's this little green frog who, like, is like crying and has his head in his paws. And has a little golden bell around his neck. And she says, is that you, my little Jan? Is that you, king of my joys and cares?
No!
And the frog groans, it is I.
Melancholy frog.
And she touches him with the silver knife, and he turns back into Jan, and they cry, and they embrace. And in the story, it doesn't say that he's like, I fucked up. I fucked up so bad. But I feel like he has to do that.
He has to.
He doesn't apologize in the story, but
fuck you, Jan.
Yes, he does. I want to find this frog as cute as it is, which means I have to have Jan apologize in my heart of hearts.
I like that. I think that's what happens.
Yeah. So, as they are embracing, and all of these men are like, oh my god, I wonder if my family's still alive.
Oh no.
The hobgoblin, the wife/husband of the Witch of Loch, appears. Still in the nest from the top of the mountain.
But wearing
now
like a hula skirt?
No, like sitting in it. But it's turned into like, it sort of looks like almost like a golden chariot, and it's being pulled by these 6 black beetles. And the hobgoblin appears and says, the spell is broken, at last I'm free, hurrah! And they're like, hurrah, we're all free. And then the hobgoblin is like, anyways, what were you guys here for? Is it like you're super poor? And they're like, we're so poor. And he's like, fortunately, my ex-wife had money to spare. Here's her treasure chest. We can split it. And so they split the pot. It's full of jewels, and Bella and Jan both stuff their clothes full of jewels.
Yeah.
And then Bella turns the applewood staff into a coach that's big enough for all of the men who were turned back from being fish.
A big old bus.
Yeah. And they all go back up to land. Jan and Bella go home and get married, and they buy a cow and a pig, and also a bunch of other cows and pigs, and also all of the fields in the parish. And they become farmers, and they live a life of wealth and leisure till the end of their days.
Yeah.
So that's that story. Like I said, in some versions, the witch becomes the Queen of the Toadstools, which is a figure that I would love to know more about. Isn't explained. The hobgoblin nest chariot. There are a couple of really cool details that were cut from Celtic tales. I think for length more than anything else. Yeah. And also just to make it easier for kids to read, probably because there's like a lot of distracting. I mean, distracting to picture a nest that is also a chariot being pulled by beetles. Yeah. But a lot of really cool details. The Witch of Loch Island is an example of a specific breed of water fairy that I had never heard of.
Water fairy.
They are called Grochs. Groach.
Okay.
Groch, and they are specifically Breton, like this area of Brittany in France, water fairies that are kind of like the idea of like a witch who can be either like good or bad. They're usually bad, but some of them are good. Yeah. And they're considered to be very powerful fairies of like lakes and waters and everything. A lot of times they're depicted as having like green hair and long tusk-like teeth, like walrus tusks. Yeah. But they're very, very cool. There are a bunch of stories about them, so you can look up more stories about Groch. And the original title of this in French was La Groche de l'Île du Loch. by Emile Silvestre, which is in like a book called Les Foyers Bretons, which is like the folklore of Britain. There's also, as I said, in Andrew Lang's Lilac Fairy book, and in Ruth Manning Sanders' A Book of Mermaids. And as I said, again, this is a real region where there's actually, I couldn't find evidence of an actual Loch Island.
Yeah.
But it is, this chain of islands, the Glennon Islands off the coast of France, are real.
That is awesome.
And like, this is it's such a cool story because I really like that this is, I really like Bella.
Yeah.
I really like that Bella is fully just like also a witch.
Yeah.
Like the witch does like one witch thing.
Well, because it could have been I inherited these things and so I'm just going to use them. I don't really know about them, but like we have these magic artifacts, but like she knows how to use them. She knows spells. She knows how they work. She is fully immersed in the magic behind them. That's cool.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like, I wasn't expecting the Witch of Loch Island's husband/wife to be a thing, the Hobgoblin.
Yeah.
Was not expecting that. I was kind of like an oh shit moment where she was like, my husband is gone. And I was like, oh, dead. And she was like, no, he's just gone. I put him away.
He's in
at
a
the top
tree
of a mountain.
somewhere.
Goodbye.
He does. I want him here with my other fish husbands.
But yeah, so like I said, this is a really remarkably actually a well-known story in this area of like French fairy tales. This is a well-known fairy tale from France, which is really cool. There's a couple of really cool pieces of art online that like people have done recently. A bunch of people telling the story in various contexts, like storytellers on YouTube. A couple of other people have done it in podcasts and everything. But I just think it's really cool.
Can I see the picture that goes with the story in this book?
Yes. So this Celtic Tales collection is illustrated by Kate Forrester, and this is one of those books that we have that is like an illustrator gathering folktales. And
yes.
Yeah, Kate Forster's art is so beautiful.
It's very iconic as well. And that there's a lot of iconography throughout it. This is gorgeous. And they have a limited color palette, which I always like a limited color palette. There's no more.
Yeah, it's like blues and blacks and like salmon pinks and
it's gorgeous. And like creams, yeah.
Yeah, it's super, super pretty. Definitely pick up this book if you have a chance. It's just a gorgeous book. The original version of the book had illustrations as well, and they were from like the 60s, the 1960s.
Oh, shit.
So there are a couple of really cool like ink drawings from the book, which I will make sure that we get onto the Instagram, because all this art is really cool and I'm really into it. Anyways.
That was such a fun story.
Also, I wanted to make the link. So the Gaelic language, the Celtic Tales Gaelic language, the Witch of Loch Island, Loch is like lake. Yeah. Which, if you think about it, like in Scotland and in Gaelic, it's Loch, you know, it's the same word. And so this word lake, and it's like even in France, like du lac, you know, that kind of thing it comes from the same root. It's just a really interesting linguistic thing to me. That, I hadn't really thought about how much like the Celtic and Gaelic affected like the development of like French folklore and language, but just a really cool little thing that I liked.
Also, isn't Dulac the name of the kingdom in Shrek?
Yes, but
Dulac is.
It is. Lancelot du Lac was his title, Lancelot of the Lake, for some reason.
Like Lady of the Lake.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's in
Arthurian legend. Anyways, that's just a cool thing that I liked.
That is very fun. That was fantastic.
Thanks.
I'm very happy to know that.
Yeah.
And I have another French tale to tell you.
Yeah. Is it about a water fairy?
It might be. No, it's not.
Yeah. Also, some Twilight jokes that I missed. Obviously, there's Bella and Hold on tight, Spider Monkey. Also, when the Hobgoblin appears, I meant to say and forgot to say, Bella, what you been doing, Loca?
Where you been, Loca? Well, that was an opportunity missed, and we'll never forgive you.
It's fine.
All right, let's take a quick break.
Yeah.
And then we will come on back.
The Grach don't come here.
The Grach don't come here. Fun fact that you all probably know by now, but my quarter brother is the one that says that in the movie. Anyway, shout out to Solomon Trimble. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Okay, Max.
Okay, Janey.
This is going to be a real long episode.
Yeah.
You guys are welcome. So we mentioned before, I am pulling from my book of French folk tales by Henri Perrat. It's a fun little book. I'd never heard of Henri Perrat before I got this book, but it is just filled to the brim, and I'm going to talk about him a little bit later. I've already talked about him before, but he's a pretty fascinating man. And his writing, I can't get a handle on. So we'll talk about it in a little later. But the story I am going to be telling you today is called Red Eyes.
Spooky.
Spooky Halloween. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. Let me fall all the way into those red eyes.
Woo! I don't know. At this point, I'm just making the noise.
Mm-hmm. Woo.
There once lived a country merchant's pretty young daughter.
Woo!
Yeah, woo! Spooky Halloween. She and her father lived alone in a house, and it stood in a pasture by a spring. There was a little grove of rowan trees, and all around them there were mountains, and everywhere else was woods, woods, woods. That's a quote. Everywhere else was woods, woods, woods.
Woods.
Woods, 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 but never mountain. So when the father had to go off, because there's like this, quote, splendid fair in town that he simply could not miss. He was like, I can't just leave you here alone. Like, there's a lot of chores to be done, so she can't leave. But also, it's in the middle of nowhere. Like, they're just surrounded by miles of nothing. And so he tells her, go get your cousin from the village. And your cousin will come here and stay with you. You guys can have like a little girls' trip here. A staycation, if you will. And then I'll be back within like 3 days. And so she does that. He leaves, and she goes for her cousin. But the trip made her late for the milking, which I'm sure the cows and goats were super pissed about, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're on a schedule. And also it kind of hurts if you're a milk cow and nobody milks you. Mm-hmm. I assume.
Got blue udders.
Yeah! Those could kill you. This actually might be able to kill you.
My cousin knew this guy who died.
So the two girls, they dawdled in the house after the milking because they were just having so much fun together. And then that made them late for the rest of their chore schedule, so they're just behind on everything. But they're having a good time, and that's what matters.
Mm-hmm. It's about the friends you make along the way.
Yeah. When they got back to the house from the stable chores, the fire in the hearth had gone out. And so they were like, oh crap, we should have been keeping this on. So then they have to walk 500 paces to the nearest neighbor, which is pretty far away, right? And so they're like, okay, we'll go to the nearest neighbor and it says for fire. And I put woods? Matches? What are we talking about? You don't just go and get fire.
They just pick up all of the logs in the fireplace and they're like, we'll bring it back, thank you.
They thought they had closed and locked all the doors, but there were so many doors in the house. So who knows? Maybe they left a few unlocked.
Oh no.
This story, Max, has huge content warnings. P.S. For you guys at home, Henri Perrat, the reason why I can't grasp his writing is because he has a lot of domestic violence and violence against women in his stories. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but just know this is gonna be unfun. Get ready. I'm happy when I bring you an unfun story about violence against women.
I am gonna shit my pants this episode, but from sadness.
Yeah. One of those sad shits.
Really glad that we have that as an audio artifact for the rest of time.
Yeah, of Max sad shitting her pants. That was Max.
Yep. Sure was.
As they were nearing the house, they're carrying all that fire. The cousin thinks that she sees a shadow slip past the house. She thinks she sees the shadow of a man, but then she looks back and she's like, oh, maybe I didn't see that because it was so fast. And she's like, ooh, maybe my eyes are playing tricks on me. And then they get nearer to the spring next to the house and she sees the barn door get pulled closed. She doesn't see anybody do it, but the barn door is open suddenly and she's like, that wasn't like that. And then it's closing, right? Mm-hmm. And so she's like, but it's dusk now, and she's not entirely positive she'd actually seen either of those things, and so she doesn't say anything. Which I'm like, say something.
Say something.
But also, when you want things to be normal so bad that you literally just nah, this isn't a thing.
No, I don't do that.
I do that. I'm like, nah, we're just gonna ignore it. Not doing it.
I don't do that. I cannot do that. I have so much anxiety, I would perish.
Not me. I am the queen of is there something in my house, or am I just still sleeping?
No, I will have to do 2 rounds around our house. If I even have a prickling sensation on the back of my neck, I'm like, cool, time to check every single place in the entire house.
Max is a Libra. And I'm a Taurus. I will go to sleep. Are you trying to kill me? Good luck killing a sleeping woman. Wait, that happens. Damn it. So the merchant's daughter is walking. Nope.
I have to tell you, when I was a kid and I would get left home alone, I started, I was really scared of being alone.
Yeah.
And this was when I was like 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
I started putting on SpongeBob on the TV really loudly when I was alone. Because here's my logic.
Yeah.
No self-respecting murderer is gonna murder a child while like a SpongeBob laugh is happening in the background.
Yeah.
That's just embarrassing for
It's
you,
embarrassing
you know?
for you. I'm just looking out for you, my man.
Yeah, I just feel like if you were in the mood to do a murder and then you just heard like, meh, you would be like, I'm gonna go somewhere else.
I still do
logic.
this thing, and I don't know when it started or why I still do it at 31 years old, but if I'm driving in my car late at night and I'm like, oh, I didn't check the back seat for murderers, I will sing along to the radio and tell myself if I can sing every single word, nobody would dare murder me because they're like, wow, she knows every word to the song. But if I miss a word, I'm like, oh, they would have murdered me there if there was anybody in the back. I don't know why.
That's
do you not do
very
that?
different kind of anxiety from what I have. But
you don't do that?
No.
Guys, you need to email me and let me know if you do that.
I've never heard of that.
That's hilarious. Okay. I really thought that was one of those universal things that everybody does, where they sing along to the radio and tell themselves, okay, never mind.
Nope.
The merchant's daughter, she doesn't notice anything because the wind is kind of howling. There's a storm picking up and it's really cold. And so she was walking with her head down, like lowered against the wind, and she hadn't noticed anything. So the cousin knows that there are a lot of stories going around about a robber who wears a foxskin hat that has the foxtail, and he wears a russet coat.
He has a hook for a hand. And he escaped from the asylum.
And he has a sexy scar going down his sexy eye. He's hot. He's not hot. He is the
And he has a hook for a hand.
And he has a hook for a hand and peg leg. So this robber is very infamous now. His name is Jean de Bort. And he lurks in the woods with his gang of criminals.
Oh.
Jean de Bort.
Le Bork, Bork, Bork.
Not Le Bork. Le Bort.
John Le Bjork.
Oh, it's Björk.
There is something about this robbery that feels different to me. Feels like
you were alone in a house in the middle of nowhere, and you look out the window, and the wind is howling, and you just see the dark outline of trees, and like the reflections from the lights inside your house shining, and then you just see the shape of a smiling Björk outside.
I would shit my pants.
You would shit your pants!
I would shit my pants.
Just saying.
I would Bjork my shorts.
I would Bjork my shorts. Oh, I'm never gonna get over that. All right. So the infamous Jean de Bort, he lives in those woods, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody knows it. The whole town has been terrorized by this man and his criminals.
All his criminals.
All his criminals. And so she reasons, like, okay, first of all, I think the reason why, the cousin, she's like, I think the reason why I'm seeing stuff is because I'm a little nervous to be in the middle of nowhere. You know, my mind is playing tricks on me. But if I mention it to my cousin, she has to live in this house, and I'm going to be freaking her the fuck out, and then we're not going to have a good time for the rest of the night. So she keeps her fucking mouth shut, and she doesn't tell her cousin any of the stuff that she's seeing. So the merchant's daughter is, like, fucked. They go inside, and the cousin immediately, like, bars the door, and she makes sure all the windows are locked just in case. And she even notices, as she's looking out the window, that there's a pair of men's shoes at the edge of the barn outside next to the hay. And she's like, were those there before? You know what? Those are probably my uncle's. And then she doesn't say anything still, even though it makes no sense that her uncle would leave shoes outside. Mm-hmm. So she's crazy.
If this were me, I would be like, hey, my cousin, why don't we play a fun game where we check everywhere in the house and we look under all the beds and see if there's anyone hiding here. It's like hide and seek, but we don't know if there's anyone hiding, and also if there is, we should probably bring a knife.
And if I was the cousin that you were telling that to, I'd be like, what a fun game that I have no questions about. Yeah, let's do it!
You would say that.
I would say that. No further questions here, Your Honor. Let's hold our biggest knives. The two girls, it is why we're friends. This worked really well for both of us.
Yeah.
Mutually assured. The two girls, they eat their dinner, they drink some wine. Outside, the wind howls and whistles at all the windows. The fire is lit, but it really does nothing to brighten the blackest of nights. It is a creepy night, and the cousin has this foreboding feeling she doesn't feel right. And so the cousin announces that the best they can do on this terrible night was just to go to sleep. She's like, let's just go to sleep and we'll wake up in the morning and we'll feel better. And meanwhile, the merchant's daughter is like, do you not feel good? I feel fine. Why do you feel bad?
You just paused this makeover montage to
like we're in
tell
the
me
middle.
that you want to go to bed. I'm so I don't.
She's just doing her.
This is the worst sleepover.
She's doing her cousin's eyebrows, and then she hears a man go, "I'm gonna kill you." And she's like, "It's time to go to bed." The cousin's like, "What?"
I couldn't hear you over the sound of Cyndi Lauper.
This cousin really should be saying something at this point. So she bends down. She's sitting on one of the beds, right? Or I think there's a big bed in this room. She's sitting on that bed and she bends down to take off her stockings. And she happens to look under the bed and she sees two red eyes watching her from under the bed.
Well, maybe those are just her uncle's red eyes that he left under
He
there
left
for
them
some
there.
reason.
He didn't want to take him to the splendid fair with him. This is a quote. The face was a man's, but the eyes a brute beast's. They were shining and staring straight at her. So it's a man under this bed, and he's just watching her, and he has red eyes. I would
Björk my shorts again.
Your shorts are so full of Björk. She puts her... So she... You're not going to believe what she does. What do you think she does?
She's like, maybe it's just my uncle's scary man that he left under the bed.
No reason.
And goes to bed.
Okay. She puts her stockings back on, and then she tells the merchant's daughter, I forgot my nightcap. I'm not going to be able to sleep without my nightcap. I'm just going to go home. And then she fucking leaves. And the merchant's daughter is like, I have like a bunch of nightcaps. You can just use one of mine. She's like, no, mine's special. Goodbye. And she's like, there's like a storm out there. It's so cold. You're not going to make it. And there are robbers outside. And she's like really trying to get her cousin to stay. And the cousin straight up abandons her and then leaves.
She's not even like, why don't you come back with me to my house?
No. So
jail for the cousin.
Yeah, this is the worst fucking lady in the world. So, her cowardly cousin insists and then runs off into the dark. Just never stops running or screaming. And so the merchant's daughter, she goes to bed shortly after this, but she can't sleep because she's very disturbed by what just happened. She's like, we were having a makeover montage and then she just skedaddled.
She took the Cyndi Lauper CD and everything.
And now I'm just hearing the silence. My nails are still wet. How am I supposed to go to sleep?
It's like my cousin doesn't even understand that girls just want to have fun.
Oh my god, my cousin does not want to have fun. So she's like also very scared to be sleeping alone in this big empty house, and it's shaking from the strong winds outside. And so she's just sitting there very quietly in the dark, or in the, the fireplace is going, and she's just kind of like very quiet. And a long time goes by, and suddenly she feels the bed start to rustle because somebody underneath the bed starts to move. And then she feels somebody put a pin up through the mattress and stick her. And she doesn't do anything because she's terrified. But also it says she's particularly brave. She doesn't make a sound. But also I'm like, she is fully so scared that she can't do anything. So she gets stuck by this pin and she doesn't move or make a sound. But she's like, oh, fuck. What? And then she has to watch as a man crawls out from under her bed.
Why did he poke her?
I think to make sure she was asleep.
I would wake up if someone stabbed me while I was sleeping.
You say that, but I think you would air kiss them.
I don't
Max
like this.
has this fun thing that she does
I don't need
where
this.
if you get close to her at all, or if you make any moves to wake her up, instead of waking up, she just starts kissing.
If anything comes within 6 inches of my face while I am asleep,
she'll kiss it.
It's deeply embarrassing.
It's so funny. And it's so... I learned this when we all went to her family's cabin as a fun little friend group thing for a weekend. It was the best. And I was sleeping in the same bed as Max, and I was about to go to sleep, and then Max turned her body around, and so we were face to face, and I was like, oh. This is intimate. And then she just smiles, sighs really sweetly, and then just starts like getting really close to my face, and I was like, oh. And I remember distinctly thinking, this is kind of nice. I feel very safe and loved. I did move back to the other side of the bed so that we weren't just making out.
I know that there are a lot
warned me beforehand that you do that, and then I'd forgotten about it, and then I got to see firsthand that, no, you do that.
It's purely unconscious. It's very embarrassing. I don't know why it happens. Like, psychologically, there's a thing where, like, babies, like, the grasping instinct and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm very embarrassed to think that it might just be a baby thing, but, like...
Just start kissing.
I have no idea what it is. It is very real, and
it is so real.
Hate it.
It comes up every once in a while. I know it's adorable.
I know that there are many people here who would love to believe that I just put the moves on Janey. I have no memory of this.
There would have been so many other opportunities for that to happen.
Yeah,
but
this was neither the first nor the 10th time that this has happened, and it has been deeply embarrassing.
It's one of my favorite things about you, I'm not going to lie. I think it's the cutest thing in the world. And I remember distinctly being like, this is intimate. Oh, this is real. She actually does this. So cute. I think it's the cutest thing ever. Okay. And moving back on, what we're saying is Max would not wake up. She would just start making out. So this woman, this merchant's daughter, is me. This is what I'm saying. This merchant's daughter, she's doing exactly what I would do. She watches this man crawl out from under her bed. She sees briefly that he's wearing a foxskin hat with the tail. He has that russet cloak. And as he turns around, she's like... She just... Honk. Me. She closes her eyes and just pretends to be passed the fuck out. And he's like staring at her for a while like, is she really asleep? And then he like waves his hand in front of her and she's like, Snork. Me. He puts his face right next to her face and he just like stays there for a second and she can feel him, but she is like fully committed to the bit. Mm-hmm. She's like, nope. I will not be tricked into waking up. But she also makes the point in the story, she thinks to herself, what good would it have done to struggle or cry out? There are no ears to hear and no arm to give help. I am alone. The only recourse I have right now is staying asleep. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe he'll leave me alone because I haven't caught him and I haven't seen his face. And so he goes back to the fire, he lights a lantern, and then he brings it close enough to her face to, quote, singe her eyelashes. Jesus. But she goes on sleeping. She is like, nope, I will not be tricked. Burn my eyelashes all you want. I will stay asleep till the very end. This is my plan of attack.
Yeah, just possum style.
Yeah, no, I'll play dead. And so he's satisfied that she's not going to wake up anytime soon. And so he turns his back and starts to like go about acting like he owns the fucking house. They make a point several times that he has no qualms with being inside this house, which also makes you wonder, has he been inside this house before? Which is terrifying. She opens her eyes just enough to see who he is when he has his back turned, and she realizes, oh my god, that's Jean de Bort. Oh god. Okay, I know who that is. He's incredibly violent, and he has a history of murdering people in this town, and now he's just in my house while I'm in bed. Mm-hmm. That's not great. So he makes himself at home, he lays his pistols on the table and his cutlass beside them, and then he pours himself some wine, and he sits in the corner of the room, and he just watches her while she sleeps, and she's laying there perfectly still, barely breathing, just waiting for him to move at all. Mm-hmm. And finally, he goes to the door, he draws a silver whistle from his shirt, and he blows into it from the doorway, calling all of his fucking criminal gang to come to the house.
Oh my god.
Yeah, she is in quite a pickle.
He's also not trying to be sneaky, which is really like he's like opening wine and like lighting lanterns and everything
laying
and
stuff
blowing
on the table.
a whistle and like
yeah.
That's really scary.
It makes you wonder if he thinks that she's sleeping for real. He just thinks that she's a super deep sleeper.
Or I feel like he kind of wants her to wake up.
Yeah. It's really weird. He's being sketchy as hell, and he is sketchy as hell. This is not...
He's a murderer.
He's a murderer.
I would say that's pretty high on the sketchometer.
Then he's like, oh, there's a lot of wind going, and so he steps out. He takes 3 steps out of the doorway, so the sound would carry further of his whistle. And as he's blowing that whistle, suddenly, the door slams behind him, and he's like, whoa! And he runs up to the door and goes to, like, try to barge back in, and the lock slides into the latch, and then he just hears a small sigh and then a little laugh. And he's like, "Wah!" And he is pissed. And so I'm going to read you his quotes because I think they're terrifying. He says, he's hurling himself against the door, he's cursing, and he says, quote, "Take care, my pretty, take care. You'd better not laugh at Jean de Bort. I'll smash down the wall. I'll take off your head."
Fuck.
This seems so real. A lot of this story seems realistic to me of how he acts, which I think is more disturbing to me because I was like, I'm reading a fairy tale book. I read several stories before this, and then I just got to this story. And there's something really realistic about it that he loses his temper because she laughed at him. And I'm like, this is just a violent man.
Yeah.
Like, his worst fear in the world is that a woman would laugh at him. And so those don't work. Those don't make her open the door for some reason.
What?
And so he
so crazy.
takes a breath and he changes tactics like a real psycho. And all of a sudden he says, "Listen, girl, I'll go away. But first you must give me back my weapons. You'll be a thief, girl, if you don't. I'll leave if you give them back. I promise. I swear. Now crack open the door and we'll shake on it." And she's like, also, this is the exact tactics that Ed Kemper used to get women to, like, I don't know. A lot of serial killers have used these exact tactics, and this feels too realistic. It made me very uncomfortable. So the girl is like, "I'm not going to open the door, but if you want to shake on it, put your hand under the door, and then I'll shake your hand under the door. But I'm not unlocking it until you shake on it." And he's like, "Okay." And then he thinks to himself, as soon as she put her hand in his, he'd never let it go. And so he's like, "Yeah, sure, no matter what, I'm going to grab your hand because this criminal gang is coming." Like, he's not worried. And so as soon as he puts his hand under the door, he suddenly screams. And when he pulls it out again, all that comes out is a bloody stump.
Oh, the cutlass.
The cutlass. She had cut off that hand from the other side.
Yes.
Yes, bitch. And he screams, "You swine, you'll regret this, I swear. The day will come when you'll beg for mercy, you merchant's wench, and mercy's the last thing you'll get." He wraps his bloody stump in his russet cloak, and then he staggers down the stair. She's watching from the window, and she notices it looks like he's drunk because he's losing a lot of blood very fast, obviously. His robber companions make it to the house, and they carry him back to the woods, where they're no doubt camping in, like, a cave somewhere. And as he's being carried away, he is screaming, "I swear it, you'll remember Jean de Bort." On the third day, so she still has to stay alone for the next 2 days.
Oh my god.
Knowing that he's out there and he's pissed and that his companions come back at any time, she's afraid to fucking walk out of her house to, like, walk and get help. you know, like, she's trapped. On the third day, the merchant is returning home.
Her fucking cousin went home and then also didn't come back and also didn't send anyone.
Okay, listen to this bullshit.
Okay.
The trigger warnings in this are so intense. Just keep this in mind. On the third day, the merchant was returning home, and he's going to the village, and he sees the cousin going to the well like nothing is wrong. She's carrying a green bucket, and he cries out. He's like, "Hey, aren't you supposed to be with my daughter? Like, the whole point of this was that you would be with her so that she wouldn't be alone." And the cousin retorts that she had left his daughter alone because she had tried to sneak in a lover without her knowing.
Oh my god.
She told him that she had seen him hiding under the bed when she was taking off her stockings, so she, quote, said goodbye to the likes of her. She had gotten judgy, thinking she had tried to sneak in a man and then left without saying anything.
Also,
And she'd convinced herself that she had the high ground.
what the hell?
Yeah. And she just told
What
her
the
fucking
hell?
father. So he gallops home immediately, quote, like a storm of thunder and hail. He leaps up the stairs in 3 bounds. He bursts through the door. His daughter is, like, so happy that he's home. And so she does this thing. Every time he comes home, she curtsies 3 times to, like, greet him. And so she's curtsying like she always does. He walks up and he strikes her so hard in the face that she is thrown to the ground. And then he takes his fucking heel and, like, raises it above her face. Like he's gonna smash in her fucking head. And he says, quote, "Is it true what your cousin says? A lover came and hid under your bed." And she says, "Oh yes, it's true, father. A lover came." And I'm like, sarcasm? Like, why would you say that? You have a heel above your head right now, lady. And he cries, "You've shamed me, and you're shamed as well. Everyone in the village will be talking about it. Not a single young man will ask for your hand." And she's like, "Oh, I already have a lover's hand. Don't worry." And then she goes to the table where there are a bunch of pistols, a cutlass, and a bloody fucking hand sitting on the table. And she's like, "There you go." And he immediately is like, and then she says, "You do me wrong, father." And then he starts like begging for her forgiveness. And I'm like, no, go to hell. What?
Go to hell. Go to
He's
hell.
like, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that you had suffered a terrible crime here. If I had known that, I wouldn't come here and punched you in the fucking face without asking any questions.
Jesus Christ.
Just, what the fuck?
Go to jail. I don't believe in the, like, prison carceral system, but also go to jail.
Go to jail.
Go to jail.
No, just kill him. It's fine. So he swears that he'll protect her from Jean de Bort and that he would never leave her alone again until she was married, which started a whole new nightmare for her because months crept by and then a year and then 2 years had gone by. And not only has Jean de Bort not made himself known, even though she's like, he promised he'd come back and finish this, so I don't feel safe, but also no one in the village will associate with her because they have now learned that Jean de Bort has a vendetta against her, and now they're like, fuck, we can't be anywhere near that. They avoid her and her father at all costs. And after that awful night and his threats, she's haunted by all of this, and she's sure he's going to come back one night to take revenge. So her father, he keeps one eye open every night. He sleeps with a fucking gun in his hand. During the day, it says he has both eyes open, like he's barely sleeping for 2 years, because he's also afraid that Jean de Bort's going to come back and try to take revenge. He's always constantly like locking the doors, relocking the doors, walking around the house, making sure they're still locked, like setting up perimeter. Like he's a man obsessed. It's ruining their lives. And it's taking a toll on everyone's mental health and their physical health, and it's just no way to live. And they do this for 2 fucking years without anyone else helping them. And then, one evening, another merchant stops by their house. And he's a stranger, he's not from the village, so he doesn't know anything about this. And he tells him, like, I lost my way in the meadows, and I was wandering through the forest for hours until I finally made it out of the forest and found your house. Hey. He's wearing all black, and he has a feather in his hat, and he's wearing black gloves like a lord would wear, and on his horse's croup rode a great chest. Thoughts? After he ate and drank with the merchant, they chitty-chat the day away, which is a quote from Let's Go to Court that I didn't mean to say out loud. Goes into Let's Go to Court. They are talking about merchant things and what merchants do. And, you know,
money.
How to merch.
I love commerce.
And ants. So he asks, what time and what way will the moon rise? Because when I leave, I need to know where I'm going. And the father is like, hey, there's not going to be a moon tonight. It's a new moon. So why don't you just stay the night with us? There are robbers in the woods. You don't want to be out there at night anyway. And so the father's also like, I feel pretty safe because I sleep with my gun. So I think it'll be fine. So the next morning, the friendly merchant wakes up and they eat breakfast and they chit chat. And then he opens the chest and he gives his new friends some presents. For the father, a belt of buffalo hide, which the father's like really into. And then for the daughter, he gives a pair of scissors damasked with gold. Which I thought about you. I feel like you would really like scissors with Damascus gold.
I have a pair of gold scissors on my desk.
Yeah, that's why I thought of you.
Extra as fuck.
She starts to reach for the scissors, and they fall from her hands on accident, and they stab point down into the floor. A sign of betrayal. Ooh. And she immediately recognizes this, and she's like, oh, that's not good. But he's like, oh man, did they break? Here, you can just have something else. I have the silver chain and you can have the gilded thimble. And she's like, I don't want that. And he's like, you have to take it. And so he like is really like pushing on these like treasures to her. And her father's like, oh, you know, women's superstitions. That's just like an old wives' tale that scissors down, whatever. And she's like, I don't feel right. I'm immediately feeling really bad about this, but no one will listen to her. And so the guy leaves. And he promises, like, he's like, I'm going to come back. On my way back, I'm going to stop by your house. And he does. And this time when he comes back, his chest is filled with even more riches than before. And he showers jewelry covered in precious stones and garnets and amethysts, like beautiful things on her. He gives her necklaces and earrings. He drinks to her father's health and then to hers. And then he asks for her hand in marriage. And her father is like, yeah, you're going to have to marry him. He's super rich. That's awesome. Also, no one else wants to marry you because you're kind of cursed in this village. So like marry him. And she thinks to herself, like, her heart is not singing, but she might as well if her father's really insisting. She's like, even though I don't feel right about this might be my best chance. I don't know. And my father can't live like this forever. She's like really worried about his health. She's like, honestly, just getting me out of here might be really good for him. And so she starts asking the most obvious questions that no one else is allowed to ask, but she like can't stop herself. Mainly, why won't he take off his gloves? Is no one else gonna, no matter what, we've never seen him without gloves on. That's really weird. And her father says, oh, no, that's probably just something really fancy people do. She's like, what? How?
Sure.
And so she sighs and she decides after a little while, she's like broken down and she says, fine, I'll accept the offer of marriage. It's the least I can do. So on Friday evening, they are engaged. On Saturday morning, they have a wedding. It's real fast. As soon as they were married, her new husband tells her he had received letters from his home far away and that urgent business demanded they leave at once. So as soon as the wedding feast is over, he tells the servants, bridle the horses, his wife is going to ride behind him, and they're going to take off. And so she says goodbye to her father and then is just immediately crying the whole way. She does not feel right about this. She's like, none of this makes any sense. How come nobody's saying anything? Like, I can't believe I'm just like on a horse now following him into the woods. Where are we going? And he's like, we're going to my house. You're going to love it. Like, it's going to be fine. Why don't you trust me? I'm your husband now. You have to obey me. And she's like, none of this feels right. And she says goodbye to her father. And she's like, I think this might be the last time I'm going to see him. And then she rides after her new husband. So her new husband asks her when they make it into the woods, they've been riding for a while. He says, why are you so sad? You don't look at all happy to be with me. And she's like, I just really want to know why you never take off your glove, especially the one on the right hand. We're like deep in the woods. Nobody's around. How come you've never taken them off? That's really bothering me. Because she has a lot of hand-related trauma.
Sure.
And so he tells her, I haven't taken it off before because I didn't want you to see what was underneath this. I didn't want you to see what my hand looked like. But now that we're alone, I'm going to go ahead and show you what is underneath this glove. And he pulls the glove off and reveals a hand made of iron underneath it. And then he strikes her in the face twice with an iron hand.
Jesus.
And he says, now do you recognize Jean de Bort? Like he's revealing, like he pulled off a fucking mask.
Good God.
Now do you recognize Jean de Bort? Ah, you wretch, my hour has come, the hour for my revenge. Huge fucking trigger warning, I am so sorry to everyone. He attacks her. When she tries to escape, he hits her with the iron hand until she's like knocked out on the ground. Then he rips off her clothes. Quote, she was left clothed like Genevieve de Brabant in nothing but her hair. I think that might also be a Lady Godiva sort of reference. After this, he ties her hands together with a rope he had in his pocket. He winds it up around her wrists many times and then hangs her up by her arms from an oak tree. And he says, quote, I was taking you to my cave, but here it'll be better still. I'll go and get my band, and they'll begin torturing you. Whoever makes you suffer the most will please me the best. You'll beg them to let you die, but there will be no death for you, or at least not so soon. And then he gallops off super giddily. He leaves her hanging there unconscious, hair in a tangle, and he's like, I'll be back, with this horrifying threat.
Jesus Christ.
The pain in her wrists is what wakes her up. That's why I'm saying this book is full of fairy tales, and you have details like she wakes up because the pain in her wrist is so bad that it like, jolts her awake. She realizes really soon that she's so far into the forest, no one can hear her scream, except, quote, for wolves, foxes, and the robbers. No one's going to be hunting there because they're all afraid of Jean de Bort. Nobody goes in these woods. She was trapped. And then the story says God heard her, though, because it just so happened randomly a young cavalry officer was riding by. He was on his way home from the wars.
The wars.
Ah, the wars. He's just riding
wars.
home. He hears her screaming, and so he comes up, and he thinks he's dreaming or hallucinating because it's just such a horrifying fucking scene, and she's all alone, just tied up, naked in the middle of these woods. So he immediately cuts her down with his sword. She's trembling so violently she can't even, she's having a hard time getting her clothes back on as she's shaking, and then she cries and is like, Jean de Bort's coming back, he's gonna kill me, can you please take me, I need to go, I need to get out of here, I'm not gonna make it if I try to walk. And she's obviously freaking the fuck out. And so he takes her up in his arms, he puts her on his horse, and then they gallop away at breakneck speed. When Jean de Bort and his companions come back, he starts cursing and screaming and foaming at the mouth, and his eyes are burning redder than they ever had under her bed. He is pissed that she's away again. They search and they can't find any trace of her, and he swears, quote, I'll know neither peace nor rest till I have my hands on her. She'll pay for this more dearly still. So he was already planning on doing pretty terrible things to her, and now his revenge vendetta thing is way higher. But she had been carried off to safety. They stop. Also, this part really got me. They stop briefly at a spring so that she can wash her face, and she's fixing her hair, and he tells her hey, you don't need to talk about it yet. I'm going to take you to my father's castle. No one there is going to know you. No one's going to harm you. my parents are really nice, and don't worry, don't try to talk yet. It's okay. And he just like lets her catch her breath and stuff, and then he takes her. Quote, at the castle late that afternoon in the orchard, under God's own sun, she told him the whole terrible story. And it says that he sat there and he listened with his head down and let her get it all out. And then he's like, stay here. Stay here. Listen, my parents are going to treat you like a daughter. They're going to love you. They've already said that you could stay here. Just stay here. You don't have to go anywhere. Don't go back home. Just don't leave, okay? And she's like, okay. And then he says, my parents are going to treat you like a daughter, and if you allow me, I'll have you for my sister. And she's like, okay. So 3 days later, he has to go back to the wars.
Oh, the
The
wars!
wars!
Every time.
And so he mounts his horse and he rides away, right? And she's like, okay. And then months crept by, then a year, and then 2 years. And he's been gone that entire time. But she's been staying with his parents, taking care of his parents at this castle, living a pretty great life, right? Traumatized and scared all the time, but also, like, feeling pretty safe for the most part. The officer's kind father died at Christmas after 2 years, and then on Easter, his mother had gotten very sick, and so things were very sad and somber at the castle. And one evening, the girl was staring out the window, she's lost in thought, and she hears a call from 2 mule drivers leading a mule with a chest on its back. And they say, quote, lady at the window, come and open the door. We've a chest for you from the gentleman at the wars. It's full of goods and jewels. He's at the wars.
He sends jewels from the wars.
He all those war jewels. He himself will bring you the key before 3 days are out. You'll soon be surprised to see him whom you've least expected. And so she hurries downstairs, and she finds the chest laid out before the door. The mule drivers are already leaving, and she's like, huh. And she has this faithful little dog that she like adopted a dog while she was there. She's got a little friend.
I think last week too, was it?
What?
There was just, at the end of the story, it turned out that there was a little dog also the entire, just like a little animal companion.
There's always a little animal companion, it's fine. And so this dog, though, who's usually like pretty well-mannered, is circling the chest over and over and is growling and sniffing and snarling and barking and will not leave the chest. She like she's like, hey, calm down. And it won't calm down. It is like spitting at this chest. It's like there is something in there. And it makes the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. And she starts shaking from fear and PTSD.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
all the normal things that she should be going through. And so she presses her ear to the chest and she hears breathing coming from inside that chest. And so she
knew it.
looks at the house, and it makes a point to be like, she looks at the house and is like, should I go inside? And she's like, well, the only one in there is like my sick mom, and I don't know. And so she just she goes into like a weird trance and just starts walking down the road. She's like walking away from the house, walking away from the chest. She's like in a weird trance at this point. Mm-hmm. And then at that moment,
stab the chest. Stab it.
Okay, so at that moment,
the chest.
The town marshal named Max comes by,
light it on fire,
and he sees her face and immediately knows something is really wrong. And he's like, "Hey, what's up? What's going on? Hey, woo, stop!" So he gets off his horse, and she brings him back to the castle, and she tells him what's happening. And without warning, and definitely traumatizing her more than was necessary, the marshal draws out his sword and just stabs it into the chest. He stabs the chest.
It's me.
Marshal Max.
Oh, there's a guy in there and he's trying to murder you? Cool.
Stab.
Stab. Explode. Fire. Stab. Explode again.
And so a scream rings out from the chest and blood starts to seep out over the flagstones. It is gnarly.
I mean, I would have opened it and then stabbed.
They broke open the chest. Why did I say with ads?
With an axe?
That's it. They broke open the chest with an axe, but my autocorrect said they broke open the chest with ads. Squarespace.com. Open, you motherfucker, and see the deals you can get by using offer code Sword of the Store.
Don't use that code. It's not real.
No, we have no ads. Nobody wants to partner with us. And they find Jean de Bort pierced through, and then, quote, just then giving up the ghost. So I guess he didn't die until they opened the chest. Mm-hmm. They hunted down and arrested the 2 mule drivers on the road. And then the next day, no doubt after lots of torture, they found the entire rest of the band of criminals. Within a week, the judges sentenced them all to death because the justice system moves too fast in 18th century France. Meanwhile, the war ended for good. No more wars.
I love it when there's no more wars.
Now there's no more wars, peace in the land. The young cavalry officer comes home. He actually hears about Jean de Bort's death by word of mouth on his way back, and he's like, oh shit, her husband's dead? And he gallops home as fast as he possibly can. At his castle, he finds the lady, and he takes her hand, and then soon makes her his wife, because he was in love with her. Mm-hmm. And then it says...
sister?
His sister. She's like a sister to me, I swear. Quote, Jean de Bort was buried in his chest at the back of the cemetery under a nameless stone, and no one spoke of him anymore. And that's the story of Red Eyes.
I have a couple of things.
Yes.
Number one, she never sent for her dad.
No, but also, who the fuck cares? I hope he dies. He punched her in the head.
That's true. Yeah, I forgot about that. No, stab and burn his house.
Yeah, he tried to stab the house through the walls, and hopefully you'll stab him too.
Also, hanging from your wrists used to be used as a method of like torture and execution. They would hang people. I read this somewhere, but I'm not sure that it was an accredited source. But I think the Tower of London, they used to hang people outside of it by their wrists because eventually you suffocate.
Yeah.
It stretches your diaphragm out so you can't take a full breath, and then you asphyxiate to death.
Yeah. And also, hanging by your wrist destroys the fucking tendons.
Yeah, it's incredibly
handcuffs
painful
are
and incredibly slow.
If you're not using handcuffs correctly, you can literally do permanent damage to your wrists, which is why there are so many people on... Kink Talk on Kinky TikTok that are like, hey, this is how to properly do this if you are doing this, because we keep seeing a lot of people doing this wrong, and you're going to do permanent damage to people's wrists, and that's not cool.
Yeah, very fucked up. Also, the scissors falling and being a sign of betrayal. There's a superstition that I absolutely believe, which is if you give someone a knife, you can't give someone a knife. If you give someone a knife, it is said that will be the knife to sever your friendship. You know, what you have to do is...
Alex has gotten you so many swords.
If you give someone a knife, they have to buy it from you, quote unquote. Oh. So you have to, like, if someone gives you a knife, you're supposed to give them, like, a penny. So it's like, you're not giving me a knife. I'm buying it from you for a penny. It's like a weird... It's kind of like... weirdly like tax fraud a little bit, you know, like the inheritance tax. But yeah, that's something that I fully believe.
But yeah, it makes sense to me. I like it. I do want to talk about Henri Perrault because, again, I can't say that I keep saying this. This story felt too real to me. There were points in the time when I was reading it and I was like, why am I so uncomfortable? Because Ed Kemper used Jean de Bort's like tactics of switching up, like between yelling and like talking like, no, everything's okay. And listen, I'm going to leave. Like just switching tactics on a dime is something that men historically use when they're abusing people.
Yeah, it's abusive manipulation.
It is. And it works. And I love that it didn't work with her. But also, that felt very real. Him leaving her and being like, I'm going to come back and we're all going to torture you. That felt too real to me. I was like, oh, something horrible is going to happen to her. Like, I hope this doesn't happen. Like, I felt really upset throughout the whole story. Also, her father coming back and immediately just, like, attacking her instead of, like, asking her what happened.
Horrifying.
The cousin not saying anything and being like, I'm going to justify this man. Like, that all seemed too realistic. It didn't seem like a fairy tale. Like, I read a fairy tale right before this that I almost told you called The Cat, or The Black Cat, which is about a magic little cat that started out white and then turned black, and its butthole had a little white ring around it, and then she put it in a basket, and she was like, I have night in a basket, and then she showed them all this black cat that was, like, spitting, and they're like, wow, that is like night, and she goes, and look, it's the moon, and then she showed them its butthole, and they're like, that is the moon. Like, that was the story that I read before this.
I need a couple seconds to
process
all of that.
Don't worry, it ended in true love. But it was all for love. So, but that was the story I read before this. And then I read this story and I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
That's horrifying.
So Henri Perrault, I have talked about this before, but he was born in France. He was going to college to study agronomy, and then he got tuberculosis, was bedridden for like a very long time, had to drop out of school. Then he finally started getting better and learned how to like walk again because he had been bedridden for so long. He had to like reteach himself how to walk. And then World War I broke out. Everybody, including his best friend, who was his writing partner, because he had started to like write under pseudonyms with his best friend, Jean Angely. World War I broke out, and then everyone went to the war except for him. He was the only man his age in his town left behind. And he was like, that fucking is humiliating. Oh no. And so then all of his friends died, including Jean Angeli. They all died in the war. 2,500 men out of a population of 60,000, 2,500 men in his town
Good
died.
Lord.
And so he was like, oh no, he sank into a deep depression because Jean Angeli died. That like really got him. And then later on, he got Spanish flu and was bedridden again. That same year that he couldn't get out of bed again, his younger brother died in an accident. He learned how to walk yet again. And then his other brother died as a prisoner of war in 1923. It was just one death and tragedy after another. And then he started traveling around Amber and collecting folktales. And so he wrote a book of 1,000 folktales gathered over the decades. It's called Le Trésor des Contes, The Treasury of Tales. And his stories have a lot of themes of domestic violence in particular, violence against women in particular, that, I don't know. He also writes in a way that I can't grasp, where he has a lot of like trains of thoughts randomly. The narrator will do an aside where it's like, she did this. Oh no, I promise she did this because I actually saw it. And then it'll just keep going and you're like, what? And it's like, oh, you're going to think this is crazy, but I swear this is true. This cat actually did this. And so it's like, what the fuck is happening? And I don't know how to process it sometimes, because it does feel like he was traveling around gathering these stories, and it feels like he was gathering real traumatic events and then putting little fairy tale spins on them. I don't know. It's a very disturbing book to read, is what I'm saying. I like the book, and I'm happy we have it, and I do enjoy telling the tales, except that these ones, more than any other book I have, disturb me.
Yeah.
In a way where I'm like, if I'm reading true crime, I'd rather just know I'm reading true crime.
Yeah. That writing style also, I accidentally specialized in English Victorian literature when I was in college, just because of the classes that I took and their subject matter and stuff like that. Not because I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
But a lot of that meant reading like the text with like the weird capitals and like, and then she went to the store. Like it's very like it's really hard to read. And I read a lot of stuff like that. A lot of it is really long, and I have a long-term someday eventually project that I would love to work on. Varney the Vampire, which is one of the first books about vampires, was a story that was like a bunch of like almost like comic books. Yeah. Where it would be in the newspaper, and there would be like he was like 500 words in a newspaper each week. Yeah. So he had like he got paid by the word, so he was trying to stretch it out as long as he could. Yeah. And it was also like episodic, so it was stretched over the course of like years. So what that means is that like there are parts in the book where like characters' names just change because they haven't been there in like a year in real time, but like, you know, a couple of days in the span of the story. And so he just doesn't remember the characters' names, and he comes up with a new name for characters and stuff like that. So the long-term project that I would love to work on is doing an abridged and annotated version of Varney the Vampire that's like cleaned up. Yes. But like that, there was a time in the 1800s in Western Europe where there was this like authors being paid by the word thing that I think has done irreparable damage to literature. Yeah. Where it's like trying to include more words so that you get paid more and stuff like that. Huge problem. And that sounds a little bit like that as well. Where it's like,
which is unnecessary tangents.
You have to believe me. This is the truth.
Why do you need to put that in there? But also, he seems like the whole book is just him trying to convince you that all these stories are real, which makes it more disturbing.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Anyway, that was the story of Red Eyes.
Terrifying.
Yeah, scary. That's a more scary one.
Nightmares about it. I was really scared at the end that they were gonna like stab the chest, and then it was gonna be
the guy,
the cavalryman. Yeah,
like he was actually. Well,
or like what's his name had like kidnapped him and put him in the trunk.
Oh, yeah.
And I delivered it.
That's why you don't do it without looking. I thought the same thing. I was like, what if it's him? I also thought, at first I was like, it's really weird that they were like, here's a chest, and your beloved's going to come back and bring you the key to this chest in 3 days. And I was like, 3 days to get out of this chest? Like, he's going to die in there in 3 days. And then I was like, I wonder if that was to make her feel safe about putting it in her room so that he could open the chest from the inside.
Yeah. Well, so that she couldn't open it herself also, and so that she would have to like bring it inside. She couldn't open it on the doorstep, I feel like. Yeah. Which is also insane.
He wanted in.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. Yeah, it's scary. Jean de Bort was very scary. I did try to look up to see if he was real. I found nothing about Jean de Bort, nothing about this in general. Everything I tried to find was all in French, but none of it was actually relevant. So
it kind of reminds me of the episode of Lore about werewolves, about like the French werewolves and like the wolf massacres in France. There was this whole story about like people were like, "Oh, we're in France and it's the 1700s and a bunch of people keep being found like shredded." And there was a theory that while there were the population of wolves in that area was enormous at that time, and they had to have like wolf hunts to keep the population down. But in addition, there are a lot of theories that there was also an active serial killer at the time.
Yeah.
Because some of it was like, you know, it was like you would see footsteps and then like a mangled body like hanging from a tree where it wouldn't, like, obviously a wolf couldn't do that. So they were like, it's a werewolf. And like in retrospect, a lot of people were like, it was probably a serial killer.
Probably a human.
Yeah.
A terrible
Reminds
one.
me of that.
Anyway, what a fun way to end this episode. So
terrifying.
if you want to hang out with us or review thoughts on this story, go follow our socials at Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all at Sort of the Story.
Join us on Discord. The link for that is in our link tree and also on our brand spanking new website.
Our website! Guys, we have a website now.
Also, check out our merch on TeePublic. We keep forgetting to talk about that. Also, check out our books on our bookshop affiliate page.
Yeah, go if you want to get any of these books. They're listed up there. I also started a wish list of books only because I was like, there are a lot of books that I feel like we just haven't bought yet. So I put down just these are the books that are relevant that we haven't bought yet. But if you have read them, you can let us know if they're worth just like taking the plunge and buying them, or you can buy some and let us know how you liked them.
Yeah,
have fun. Cool.
Well,
with that. Rate and review this podcast. And you got like almost a 2-hour-long episode. So tell us how you liked that.
Pretty good. Yum, yum, yum.
Oh,
You're welcome.
yum, yum, yum. Okay, guys, have a great day.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.
I would like us to have 2 microphones.
You're really just jonesing for that second microphone.
I want that second microphone.
We talked about that during the test.
Bad.
I think you mentioned that for the test for the last episode, too.
Well, it's just that we always spend so much time trying to get this directly in the middle of us. It still might be too far away. But, like, I want that.
Yeah.
Imagine we don't do our test moving this microphone back and forth. But instead we each have our own microphone.
You just made a gesture like you were throttling the microphone.
We don't fuck the microphone before the podcast. We do it after, in celebration.
We call it our fuckraphone.
Woo! Microfuck.
Oh.